What's doing, everybody? Today is Tuesday, October 22nd. Congressman Jim Jordan and Dr. Robert Malone join me on the podcast today. Donald Trump worked one day at McDonald's and threw the entire left into a tizzy. P. Diddy is hit with new charges, 5 new lawsuits, and they are absolutely disgusting. We got a caravan of 2,500 migrants headed for the southern border. We are just 14 days away from the presidential election. I'm Alec Lace. This is the Alec Lace Show.
The American family is under attack. Parents are the underdog of this nation. Your children are being indoctrinated. That's right. Your children. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the school system. They belong to you, the parents, as a blessing from God our Father. So let's preserve, protect, and fight for the American family together. You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, let's do it. Welcome, everybody, to the Alec Lace Show. I'm happy and honored, as always, to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching the broadcast live as it streams on Rumble, please get down there, hit the follow button, share the broadcast so we can get as many people into the live stream here as possible. No matter where you're listening, please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a review. I got a great program for you guys today. Congressman Jim Jordan will be joining me via phone call today. And Robert Malone, Dr. Robert Malone, he's got a new book out this month, and he will be coming back to the podcast as well. Both of these guys have been on the podcast several times. Honored to get a chance to speak with them every time that I do. And a special announcement here tomorrow. I will be down in Atlanta. I am flying out tomorrow morning to head to the Georgia rally in Duluth. Donald Trump connecting with Turning Point USA. They got a humongous rally going down there in Duluth, and I will be there broadcasting live with the Alec Lace Show. But I will not have an episode for you guys tomorrow, so I'm asking you to follow me on X at Alec Lace. That's where I'll be posting the videos and again, the last rally I was at in Butler, it was very difficult to get the videos uploaded in time. So I know I promised I would have a Wednesday episode, but Wednesday, tomorrow, I will be down in Georgia getting the content together. I will be uploading it to my locals. So if you want to watch it on locals, you can watch it there. If you want to watch it on X, I'll be putting some up there. You can follow me on YouTube. I'll try to post some shorts and some videos up there as well. But I will hit you guys with all of the content on Thursday's podcast. So there's a lot of prolific speakers that are going to be there. I know RFK Jr. will be there. Tulsi Gabbard will be there. Obviously, President Trump is going to be there. But other people that you heard on the podcast here as well. I'll try to get as many interviews as I can. Also going to get some reaction from some of the rally goers. So I'm going to try to pack in as much content as I can and get the most out of the trip. I did get my press pass, so I will have press access. I wasn't going to go unless I did. I was able to get it. So I will be reporting from down there in Duluth on Wednesday, tomorrow, which is the 23rd. So again, follow me on X I'll try to load up there what I can. You'll get all of the interviews, all the content that I do get, I will put here on Rumble first on Thursday. Okay, so that's the first time I'll put it all together. So please don't miss out on that. All right. And again, last week, if you missed out, I had the GOP chairman, Michael Whatley, here. Also had General Michael Flynn and Dennis Prager of PragerU. So if you missed out on those episodes, flip it back and take a listen. And again, today, Congressman Jim Jordan and Dr. Robert Malone. First up here, though, Donald Trump working at McDonald's was one of the most brilliant moves I think he's made so far this campaign. I mean, this thing, and it absolutely torched the left. They really went into a complete meltdown over this. It's kind of been funny to watch. But you know what else has been really funny to watch is the memes. The memes have been absolutely hysterical. I'll put some of them up here as I'm going along here because they were just phenomenal. And also, if you're using that Grok or Grok, whatever it's called on X, the AI generator, I mean, you could really come up with some bangers for this. But I think it was a brilliant move by President Donald Trump. So much so here that one of the least conservative guys you'll find, Cenk Uygur, the guy who founded the Young Turks, he put this out on Twitter yesterday. I thought it was a great statement. Some in the press called Donald Trump's McDonald's photo op bizarre. This is how you lose credibility. That was a home run photo op. He looked like a real person there, connecting with the average American. If you can't see that, you're totally blind. And I couldn't agree more. I think it was a brilliant move by him doing that. It threw the whole left into a big tizzy. And I talked about this as it happened. and I put this up on my locals. So again, if you guys want to support me and what I'm doing here, follow me on locals. I'll be posting videos there daily. I'm going to be working on posting daily videos, reacting to breaking news as it happens. I did that with this as it occurred when Donald Trump went to McDonald's. That was the time. Obviously, I'm going to talk about it here today, but you got to strike while it's hot in this business, because now this thing is so far gone now. It happened what seems like a year ago. Same thing. I didn't even get a chance to talk about the Al Smith dinner, right? Because I did the broadcast Thursday. Didn't even get a chance to cover the Al Smith dinner because that seems like it was another 10 news cycles back. But that was an embarrassment that Kamala Harris didn't show up for that. Donald Trump had one zinger after another. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to hit you with what I did post on the locals and what I did post as it happened. This was how I broke down the Donald Trump working at McDonald's. Take a listen.
You're listening to the Alec Lake Show. The future is family.
It was free fries for freedom-loving patriots in Pennsylvania today, and all cries from left-wing lunatics. I'm loving it. Liberals are losing it. Donald Trump with the epic troll of Kamala Harris today in Pennsylvania at the McDonald's, a place where Kamala Harris claimed that she once worked when she was younger, despite the fact that there's zero evidence and zero verification that that ever happened. So what did Donald Trump do? He goes to McDonald's and says, look, you never did it. I've done it. Here it is. So put it on the resume. So Donald Trump shows up at McDonald's. The place goes absolutely bananas. It was an epic, epic day. And I think McDonald's needs to come out with a Happy Meal toy, a Donald Trump Happy Meal toy. They got to have some kind of value fry. Now, what would you think? Freedom fries or fighting fries? One of the two, I think, is a definite. Now, you can imagine Burger King today. The leaders of the ownership of Burger King's like, why couldn't Kamala Harris have lied about working for Burger King instead of McDonald's, right? I mean, this was an epic day. And the mainstream media had an absolute meltdown. I'm going to share one of the clips from MSNBC in just a second here. But look at this iconic image that we got of Donald Trump working the drive-thru at McDonald's. He also worked the fryer there. So this campaign of Donald Trump for president has produced some of the most epic political pictures of all time. There's no political candidate that's had this much just legendary pictures that have come out. Here it is. Obviously, we got the mugshot of Donald Trump. We've got Donald Trump with his hand raised after being shot in the head. And we have also the picture of him lying on the floor, blood coming down. It almost looks like he's praying in between the feet of the Secret Service who are huddled over him. We've got the Donald Trump RFK picture that is just an epic picture of these two parties coming together, the old school Democrats, the MAGA party. And what an epic picture that was. We have Donald Trump with Elon Musk. And boy, I was there at Butler when Elon Musk came out on stage and the place just absolutely exploded. And now we have Donald Trump working the drive-thru at McDonald's. And I'm going to give you guys here's the best of the best highlights of Trump working at McDonald's today.
It's an amazing business. It's an amazing country. And we're going to make America greater than ever before. We're going to do it.
Are you going to see Aaron Rodgers?
Look at the enthusiasm. I mean, that's thousands of people over there. They go miles back. I could do this all day. I wouldn't mind this job. I like this job. I think I might come back and do it again.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Mr.
Look at that. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Nice to see you.
You made it possible for ordinary people like us to meet you.
You're not ordinary.
I mean, thank you so much
You
for
are not
everything you're
ordinary.
doing.
I can see.
We pray for you, and you are the type of person we want to be the president.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So nice.
Up. Again, hit the timer, take it out the oil slowly, give it a little shake so that we don't get stuck together, and then lower it back into the oil. So this one will probably go off before anybody else. Yep, there we go.
How awesome is that? Could you only imagine being one of these families, one of these people that pulled up to the drive-thru window and got handed a bag of McDonald's from President Donald Trump? How awesome that must have been. What a great moment. I mean, I don't know if you eat the food, you got to save at least the wrapper. You got to save the container that the French fries came in or something, because that is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And you got to love the left melted down all over Twitter today, all over the mainstream media today. They were just crying, oh, my God, McDonald's, it's not healthy. McDonald's isn't healthy. This is the same people that put Mayor de Blasio on TV at 10 o'clock in the morning and encouraged everyone to eat a cheeseburger and French fries for breakfast if they took a vaccine for your health. Same party. The same party that was telling you and encouraging you to eat cheeseburgers and French fries for breakfast is now having a hissy fit because Donald Trump was at McDonald's. All right? So here was MSNBC in total meltdown mode over Donald Trump working at McDonald's today.
But what's this about? There's no logic to it. It's a stunt. He has not put forth an economic agenda. He, as you know, appears to be not well, and he's engaged in some really bizarre types of activities during this campaign. So this is just another one of those stunts that he will continue on through the campaign. And I think that we need.
Oh, there's that Donald Trump. We have to remember he's a threat to democracy. But they say, oh, it's bizarre. This is bizarre. You know what's bizarre? Saying that you worked at McDonald's and you never did. That's kind of bizarre. You know what else is bizarre? Using a fake, fraudulent Southern black accent when you don't have one. And you start going, you better thank our union member. And you pull out all this nonsense to pander to a different community. That's bizarre, right? Things like we saw from Joe Biden, right? Playing Despacito on a record player. And Jill Biden not even knowing how to say the word bodega, but saying, oh, you can go to a Bogota. Or, oh, you guys are just like unique as breakfast tacos. That's bizarre. The left is bizarre. You know what's bizarre? Chuck Schumer putting cheese on a raw burger to try to act like he's like you and me. That's bizarre. But yet MSNBC has no problem with any of that stuff. It's Donald Trump that's bizarre, right? Oh, Donald Trump is losing it. These are the same people that told you Joe Biden was sharp as a tack. And they're telling you now, oh, Donald Trump is out of it. Kamala Harris is fake, phony, and fraudulent. Never worked at McDonald's. But you know who did? President Donald Trump in an epic showing today at the drive-thru. God bless President Trump. Look at the crowd of people that showed up there to support him. Pennsylvania is a must-win on November 5th. And I think with appearances like this, Donald Trump is going to get it. God bless Donald Trump. Let's get this on November 5th.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
Donald Trump really knows how to have some fun and really does know how to connect with the people. He also went to the Pittsburgh Steelers game, and the place went absolutely bananas there. And this was, how funny was this? He posted this picture up on his Truth Social, right? This one here with him in the Pittsburgh Steeler outfit, wearing number 47, looking all muscled up and stuff. And Newsweek actually has to post this in response to that. Donald Trump shared what is likely an AI-generated image of him playing as a Pittsburgh Steeler. So what's the only other alternative? That we think Donald Trump actually played football for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, these people are out of their minds. Like, they don't know how to handle the trolls that are coming from the Trump team. Like, this thing that he did at McDonald's was a total troll on Kamala Harris, who claimed to have worked at McDonald's. Oh, there's magically, we don't have any records of that. There's no pictures of her working there. There's no evidence of anything, a pay stub, nothing. So this was a perfect troll for Donald Trump, who claimed, hey, now I've worked at McDonald's 15 more minutes than Kamala Harris. But here it is. Donald Trump goes to the Steeler game. He posts this picture, almost like we've seen the pictures of Donald Trump as Rambo. We've seen pictures of Donald Trump as pretty much everything, as Rocky. Here's one of him as a Steelers player, and Newsweek is like, well, this might be AI generated. What's the other alternative? That this was an actual photo? These people are so stupid. But anyway, what did you think about the McDonald's appearance from Donald Trump? I thought it was brilliant. I think it was a great part of the campaign. And this is a guy, too. I love the meme, too, with him holding the McDonald's bag after getting shot in the head. I mean, people had a lot of fun with this whole thing. But it's a guy that, you know what? He can be serious when he needs to be serious. He can be lighthearted when he needs to be lighthearted. And the people absolutely love Donald Trump. He is the people's president. And the people absolutely love him. And so the race is, we're just 1 week away, 2 weeks away here, 14 days away. 2 weeks from today will be election day. And man, it's looking good in the polls for Donald Trump. His campaign is firing on all cylinders. And on the flip side of that, Kamala Harris seems to be in a total meltdown mode, total breakdown mode. And so Trump is peaking at the right time. Kamala Harris is collapsing at the wrong time. And so let's break this all down with Congressman Jim Jordan. Now, I did my best to try to get the video Zoom call here with Congressman Jordan. He's been busy like crazy, campaigning all over the place. I know he was just campaigning with Dave McCormick as he's running right now for the Senate. So everyone's jockeying around. Everybody's busy. What I could get was a phone call, and that's what you're going to get right now. So let's plug this in and get Congressman Jim Jordan and get his take on all this stuff.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
All right, joining me now, Congressman Jim Jordan. Welcome back to the Alec Lace Show.
Good to be with you, Alec.
All right, I'm honored to have you here. We're coming down the home stretch not too long before November 5th. This thing has seen everything. We started out here, Trump versus Joe Biden. Now we got Trump versus Kamala. They tried to shoot Trump twice. So a lot's happened. What's your take? What's your read on the election here?
Things are moving in a good direction for President Trump. You can feel it. I've been to Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, been all over the country helping colleagues. You just feel, and you can see it in the polls, they're ever so slightly ticking up in favor of President Trump. And of course, maybe the best indication is the betting markets are moving strongly in President Trump's favor. So, and I think the reason, Alec, is because we're getting something we very seldom get in American politics. We're getting back-to-back administrations now running for the top job. And you can look at the 4 years of President Trump, and you can look at the 4 years of Biden-Harris, and there's frankly no comparison. I tell people all the time, we went from a secure border under Trump to no border under Biden-Harris. We went from safe streets to record crime. We went from $2 gas under President Trump to $4 gas now. We went from stable prices under President Trump to record inflation under the Biden-Harris administration. And I haven't even got into foreign policy. Russia didn't attack Ukraine when President Trump was in the White House. Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran didn't attack our best friend, the state of Israel, when President Trump was in the White House. And so Americans have common sense. Americans are smart. They're doing the direct comparison, and that is why I think you see the numbers moving in the direction they are.
Yeah, I often say, like, the biggest thorn in the side of the Democrats is reality, because we're all living in reality here, and that's a problem. But now, just like you said, we have something to compare both of these 4-year records to, but yet it seems like the Democrats have this amnesia. We hear, like, from Tim Walz or Doug Emhoff, oh, we can't have 4 more years of this, as if they're not the incumbent. And then you have Kamala's slogan is a new way forward, yet when she's asked what she would have done different, she says, I wouldn't have changed a thing. So I think it's like they almost try to act as if Trump is the one that's responsible for the disaster that we're living in here.
That's all they've done for 9 years now is attack President Trump. And again, when he was in office, real wages were up, this border was secure, the country and the world were safer. I mean, he did more what he said than any president, certainly in my lifetime, and he did it with everyone in that town against him. You had all the Democrats against him, all the mainstream press against him, half the Republicans were against him. But 4 years ago. And of course, maybe most importantly, he had all the bureaucracy, and still he got things done that he told the people he was going to do who put him in office. And I think people are saying, we want that back again. We really, really do. The other thing about President Trump is you get what you see. He is as genuine as it comes. He knows what he believes. He says what he believes. He goes out and talks about it. And when the Democrats, when it's Vice President Harris or Governor Walz talking, it seems like they're always pretending. They're one thing to one audience, one thing to another audience. They're always pretending and faking it. And I think that's coming through as well. So I'll take the genuine guy who did good things any day of the week.
Same here, Congressman. And one of the things, last week I just had the GOP chair, Michael Whatley, on here to talk about this. The big thing that we're all worried about, myself included here, is the election integrity. We worry that there hasn't been enough done to secure this election. We're afraid of, because we see the momentum so high, just like you said, the betting markets, the polls. We worry about some shenanigans happening here at 3 o'clock in the morning in these swing states. So what's your confidence level? Has there been enough done, in your opinion, to secure these elections? Can we trust them?
I do think so. States that could made changes, like the state of Georgia, where they controlled the state house, the state senate, and the governor's office. They made changes to their election law a few years ago. And I always tell folks, it was a good change because everyone protested. Major League Baseball moved the All-Star game and all that. But they've had an election subsequent to that, and things went great. So, we have that. And then other states, I think Chairman Whatley and Larry Trump have indicated we got more poll workers, more poll watchers, more lawyers at all the key precincts in the key swing state areas. So I think we're ready. But there's concern. I get that. I think we're going to be fine. But the concern, of course, is, as someone said, they didn't let 10 million migrants in the country for nothing, and the Democrats refused to pass the bill that in the Senate that we passed in the House, which said if you're going to go sign up to vote as a new voter going on the voter registration rolls, you should demonstrate you're a citizen in light of 10 million people coming in the country in 3.5 years. So that to me, I think, is a big concern. But I think we're ready for it.
Yeah, a concern of ours too, because I've often said that the open border has never been about helping the poor, struggling illegal immigrant get a better life. It's been about helping to keep the Democrats in power. And I know we've seen the DOJ challenging the Republicans on that, of getting these illegal immigrants or non-citizens off the voter rolls. I mean, the only reason to do that would be so you could cheat. I mean, I don't know. And the same thing with voter ID, Congressman. There's no other reason to not require voter ID other than you want to cheat. There's no reason to have an election season like we have 2 months before the election starts, unless you want to have some cheating.
Yeah, there's this attack on Secretary of State and governors, like they're doing to Governor Youngkin, they're doing in Texas. We got the same thing in Ohio. In fact, we just sent a letter back to DOJ yesterday, but our Secretary of State called me and said that he got the same kind of letter from the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, questioning the fact that he was in an appropriate way saying if you're non-citizen, you can't be on the voter registration roll. And yet they're saying, oh, this is 90 days, within 90 days of the election, there's a concern about that. Well, you know what's funny to me is there's never a concern about all the lawfare activity going against President Trump 90 days prior to an election. But somehow, if you're following the law and keeping non-citizens from voting in your respective state, somehow that's a problem. So yeah, this is a concern as well, and we're pushing back on the Department of Justice on this.
Yeah, and you mentioned there, too, like you got Jack Smith. I mean, we would consider this to be election interference, what this guy has done. Now, we also seen Fani Willis here down in Georgia. She wants these 6 charges put back onto the books. We know that case still hasn't been resolved with the Nathan Lane. I know he came to testify before the Judiciary Committee. How did that go? And do you think this thing is ever going to get moving, or do you think this thing is dead in the water?
I think all those cases are falling apart because they were all just ridiculous, politically driven lawfare cases. With Nathan Wade, we deposed him. We're getting that transcript and releasing that so that people can see how he answered the questions in that deposition. But I think all these cases are falling apart because they were all baloney from the get-go.
Well, one of the other things, Congressman, was when the DOJ released that Ryan Ralph $150,000 bounty. We were all kind of like, why in the world would you release something like that? Especially when we said like you had like that trans shooter manifesto. They didn't release that. They kept that secret. But this thing they put right out there to the public. After there's been 2 attempts on President Trump, you put that thing out there. Did you ever get a response on that?
No, we've asked that too. We're pushing for an answer to that question too. Now, we do think the task force that's been formed by the Speaker in the House. Let's hope that they can answer to that, and I think they will. I know they're working hard on getting answers to all kinds of questions that we have. One of my big concerns, frankly, about that, Alec, is the fact that after the Butler assassination attempt on President Trump, the day after, they lied to us. Our government lied to us. The Secret Service spokesperson said, this is a quote, absolutely false was the terms he used, and I'm paraphrasing the rest, but absolutely false that we in any way denied security requests from President Trump's detail that they asked for. And then the next day, Mayorkas said the same thing, unequivocally false, that we in any way denied requests from President Trump's security detail. And then 5 days later, they said, well, there were occasions where his detail asked for things, and we turned them down. Well, it can't be both, for goodness sake. You guys, so not only there's obviously screw-ups at the event of Butler that led to the death of Corey Compatore, 2 other people being hurt, President Trump being shot. Not only was there that, they lied to us within 48 and 24 hours, or 24 and 48 hours after they lied to us about what really went on prior to that. So that is a big concern as well. You cannot have our government that we pay for lying to we the people, but it seems like that's exactly what they did.
And the fact that he got shot in the head during this election cycle and then in second attempt, it seems like that's the smallest storyline of the whole election cycle. You don't see anything about this. Like the media could care less. You would think that what you just said there would be the top headlines on some of these, mainstream media accounts because it's huge stories.
Or how about this story? The Iranians hack President Trump's campaign, get a dossier on J.D. Vance, give that dossier to the Biden-Harris campaign, and then some of that information winds up in the press. Now, if that were reversed, if Iran had hacked the Harris campaign and given a dossier on Tim Walz to the Trump campaign, and somehow some of that winds up in the press, holy cow, there would already be a special counsel. This would be nonstop in the news. But when it happens the other way around, oh, no, nothing to see here. So, again, just demonstrating how partisan the big media truly is.
And we don't have to imagine how that would be. We watched it play out for 3 years with the Russia collusion hoax. So I mean, we seen what it would be like if the coin was flipped.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but again, the good news is the country has figured it out. The country sees through it, and I think that's again why you're seeing these numbers move in the right direction, moving in President Trump's favor. And frankly, in some of these key Senate races. We were helping Dave McCormick. We of course our Senate candidate in Ohio, Bernie Marino. I think McCormick's going to beat Casey. I think Bernie Marino is going to beat Sherrod Brown in Ohio. I really think we're going to win everything. And then get about reauthorizing the tax cuts, securing the border, and putting in place common sense energy policies, and getting our economy moving, and getting a commander in chief back in the White House who actually projects strength to these bad guys around the world.
Well, yeah, and I like McCormick's campaign. I had him on the podcast recently. I think he's got a lot of momentum. Pennsylvania obviously is key, as so many of these other swing states. But this was my next question, Congressman. Everyone was so disappointed with the House this last term here, where we had control, even though a slim majority, and it seemed like we could get nothing done. We kept shooting ourselves in the foot. We got in our own way. If we can hold on and get a bigger lead in the House and get the Senate, what are the top priorities here? What's the agenda in 2025? We can make that happen.
Those three things. Reauthorize the tax cuts, because you got to get our economy moving again like it was under President Trump. So reauthorize the tax cuts, secure the border. A lot of that, the tax cuts can happen in this process called reconciliation, which is a fancy term for avoiding the 60-vote hurdle in the Senate. The border security, a lot of that can happen with executive orders and actions by the White House, by President Trump. There'll be some things we can do as well. And then of course, get back to common sense energy policy, because the way the world works is, again, I think Republicans understand this. The way the world works is you want to lead militarily and diplomatically, you have to lead economically. You want to lead economically, you got to have readily available energy at affordable cost. So get off this crazy kick of all these. And I'm for all the above. I'm not against any wind, solar, all that. The last thing I would just add is I do think it's really important that we continue our work on making sure these federal agencies haven't been turned against we the people. And I like to think the work we did this Congress made a real difference on this attack on free speech, on this censorship activity. As some have said, what they've called it, Matt Taibbi and Schellenberg have called it the censorship industrial complex. Big government, big tech, big media all getting together to censor American speech. And I think we've had a real impact. And let's think of it this way. Did you ever think you would see Donald Trump, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard on the same team? They're on the same team because they care about the First Amendment, and they see the threat from the left to free speech rights. So this is critically important, and we need to continue that work as well.
Well said, Congressman. I agree. I think Elon Musk, I was there at the Butler rally when he returned, Trump returned to Butler. Elon came on stage and the place just went bananas. I mean, it's really cool to see that team happening. And as you mentioned, RFK Jr. and them. And then the last thing I just want to hit you with here is because you talk about these government agencies. We just seen the FBI walk back their crime data where violent crime, which we all know because we live in reality, we've seen the crime go up, and they checked President Trump on that on live TV, yet the numbers are true that the crime is up, and probably more than they're reporting as well. But that's the type of thing. That's election interference. They're doing these things on purpose. I don't think that's a mistake that they're doing that.
Yeah, well, we all recall what happened 4 years ago when 51 former intel officials gave us the letter that turned out to be just a bunch of baloney when they said, the Hunter Biden laptop story has all the earmarks of being a Russian information operation. Baloney, it was true. And they knew it. I think, well, they will deny this, and we deposed a number of these guys. But the FBI had the laptop, so they had to know it wasn't fake at the time. But they allowed that story to linger, and they allowed it to be used as the basis for censoring certain posts and tweets and things online, and that is a problem. So RFK Jr., when he testified in front of our committee, I called him a few weeks ago when he endorsed President Trump, and we related this story. First of all, I joked with him. I said, we took some heat for when we had you come in a year ago because, you're a Democrat candidate for president. What's Jordan doing bringing this guy in? But we brought him in because of the First Amendment. And it was, in that hearing, I told him on the call, I said, in that hearing, you said something that you also said when you endorsed President Trump. And I have not forgotten it. When you look at history, it is never the good guys who are for censorship. It is always the bad guys. And we need to remember that. The left is now the party of censorship. We as Republicans, we need to stand up and say, no, we embrace the First Amendment. It's one of the greatest things that's ever been put in our Constitution. We need to respect the rights that we enjoy as Americans under the First Amendment. And that's a big issue, I think, in this campaign, and certainly with our work if we win the majority.
Yeah, well said. Well said, Congressman. There's no doubt about it. Last thing, take me away here. We're days away. We can see it getting closer in the mirror here. The election is right on the doorstep. Does President Trump have it? Do we have it in the bag here? Is President Trump going to pull this out? What's your feeling? What's your gut instinct here?
I really think he's going to win. His record's so much better. I just think he's going to win. He's a leader. You can see that. And I also think, Senator Vance has done just a tremendous job and has been helpful to the campaign as well. His performance in the debate was just phenomenal. And I think we're going to win the White House. I think we're going to win the Senate seat in West Virginia, in Montana, in Ohio, and Pennsylvania. We're going to have a majority in the Senate, I believe. And I think, of course, we're going to keep the House.
I like your style. I like your confidence. Congressman Jim Jordan, always an honor to get you on here. Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on the Alec Lace Show.
You bet. Take care, brother.
All right, honored to have Congressman Jim Jordan on the podcast here. What do you guys think about the interview? Hit me with a comment down below. I think Jim Jordan would be a great Speaker of the House. I think we need an America First, a MAGA guy to be the Speaker of the House. Jim Jordan would get my vote 100%. We need to do something different. We need to take charge in the House, provided we get a bigger lead in there. It cannot be the same old that we just saw for the last 4 years or the last 2 years, having the small majority that we did and getting nothing accomplished. It's got to be time to move. And you heard there his top three go-tos once we take that bigger lead in the House. So honored to get Jim Jordan on the podcast here. Obviously, he's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Represents Ohio's 4th District, has been doing so for quite a while now, and he's one of the best that we have in there. So grateful to get a chance to have him on the show. I'm going to bring Dr. Robert Malone on in just a minute. And I just wanted to point out these two glaring differences here between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and the campaigns, right? Because Kamala Harris the other day was at her campaign, obviously talking about how much they love to butcher babies and she's pro-abortion and all that stuff. And so somebody shouted out that Christ is king, right? Or that Jesus is Lord. And her reaction versus when someone shouted out Jesus is king at J.D. Vance's rally, two totally different reactions that show you a glaring difference between these two campaigns. So here they are.
With the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
Anti-Christian rhetoric and anti-Christian approach to public policy. I don't think that we've, that's right, Jesus is king, and I don't think that we've seen...
And this is why we say, Catholics, Christians, you got to get off the couch. You got to get to the ballot box. You got to vote for Donald Trump. I mean, there is a big difference. You got one. And then Kamala Harris tried to pretty this up by going to a Baptist church after the campaign realized this was a terrible look. But she's a panderer, this girl. Everything we know about her is fake. But here she is there when she has a split second to react. Oh, you're at the wrong rally, right? You think Christ is king? You're at the wrong rally. I mean, it was blatant in what she said there. And she hates Christians. There's no mistaking that. If you're voting for Kamala Harris as a Christian, you're an idiot. This woman hates you. She hates Christians just almost as much as she hates Americans, okay? So there's a major, major problem here if we don't get Catholics and Christians out there at the ballot box on November 5th. I mean, the choice is obviously clear here. J.D. Vance, you're damn right. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is king around here. And that's the way it is. We are a Christian nation. And if we don't vote these Marxist people out of office, we are going to lose that. And we will be swallowed up by this communist party that is coming to take down America and take down Christianity. So Christians got to rise up. Catholics got to get to the polls. It couldn't be more clear than in those two different videos right there. So one more thing I want to hit on here before I bring Dr. Robert Malone on the podcast is this migrant crisis. Now, I talked about this last week with General Flynn. It's one thing to get Trump into office here or to win the election on November 5th. It's a whole nother thing to get him inaugurated. And there's about 76 days, right, between November 5th, January 20th. Anything goes. In between, that entire part of our life is going to be up in the air, and there's a migrant crisis coming right now. 2,500 migrants. Here's the video here, or here's the post here. 2,500 migrant caravan heading for the U.S. southern border. They are trying to get here before Election Day. And why would they not? Because they all see this as, if we don't get in now, we're never going to get in. They figure it's easier to get in here and get deported than it is to try to come in here after Trump gets in. So let's get in there now and worry about getting kicked out later, which will be harder to do, right? Harder to evict us than if Trump gets in and shuts it down. We don't have a shot to get in. So they're coming now. And this is all because they fear Donald Trump. Now, what does that tell you? What kind of message does that send to you? It says that they fear Donald Trump closing the border. So if you're like a pro Kamala Harris, you're like, as an immigrant, yes, let's get Kamala Harris in there so we can keep this border open. Matter of fact, right now we have a record in this country. There's 51.6 million foreign-born people in our country right now. That's in our population. 51.6 million is a record, all right? And we have got to do something about this. And it's an epidemic level. We all know what's at stake here. And especially, too, Kamala Harris, I'll put this up here. She is doing so poorly with the African-American community, much worse than Hillary Clinton, much worse, obviously, than Barack Obama. She is tanking with black voters. It is hemorrhaging. And one of the big reasons for that is that you have these illegal immigrants who have become more important to the Democrats than the African-American. And that's the truth. That's what's happened here. They have coddled the new migrant into the country. They're giving them everything. They're giving them everything that they used to give the African Americans did to try to buy their love, to try to buy their vote, to try to get their support. And they're doing all that now for the illegals, who they see as a bigger group of people that will be supporting them in the future. And they're kind of dropping the African-American voter like a wet towel. And a lot in the African-American community are starting to see that, as well as the minorities. The Hispanics have already seen it. They know it. And Trump is doing very well with both groups right now, better than ever. But there it is, right? Caravan marching to the border. Now, all of this stuff, Dr. Robert Malone, obviously, during the pandemic, was one of the people that was censored more than anybody. The Trust the Scientist people didn't want to hear what the scientists had to say, as long as it didn't, help them push their agenda, which was pushing their product in your arm. So he's got a new book out, War, Enforcing the New World Order. It came out on October 8th. Now, Dr. Robert Malone's had enough. He's got the gloves off and he is guns blazing. I mean, that's how he is. He is a physician, inventor, scientist, author, speaker, journalist. In this book, he gets into the deep state censorship, the propaganda control, fifth generation warfare, New World Order. He's knee deep in it, right? So we're going to get into all of this stuff with Dr. Robert Malone and get his take on what's happening here with all of it. So again, I got the link to his new book down there in the description below. Let's bring him on.
You're listening to the Alec Lake Show. The future is family.
All right, let's do this. Joining me now, Dr. Robert Malone. Welcome back to the Alec Lake Show.
Hey, Alec, thank you a lot for having me on, and it's great to be here. It's a lovely day, and boy, we have a hell of an election coming up.
Well, we're only 14 days away here. We're only 2 weeks away. It's amazing. It seems like it's never going to get here. Now it seems like it's right there. We can see it. We can touch it. And it's been a wild ride. And I know so much has happened in this election cycle. I think it seems
we've had 2 assassination attempts. I mean,
amazing.
This is just amazing what's going down.
Yeah, you had a candidate drop out, right? You had a candidate installed. I mean, these are things that, were once in a lifetime type of things are happening almost every day in this type of election season here.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And let's hope and pray that we don't have another voting machine shit show at the last minute and have this thing, have not an election day, but an election season or an election week while they're busy cooking the books. It's God only knows what we're heading into.
Well, that's our biggest concern, Dr. Malone. Just before you came on, I had Congressman Jim Jordan on. I was talking to him about that. Last week, I had the the RNC chairman, Michael Whatley. I mean, that's the big thing. We're all worried about the election integrity. Can we get a secure election? Is this going to be on the level? Because I don't know what it feels like to you, but it feels like to me that the energy level, like going to these Trump events, this election cycle has seemed to be on another level than it was in 2020 and 2016. It just seems like there's so much more love and support for President Trump now than there ever was before. So it'd be hard to believe that somebody like Kamala Harris, who don't even belong on the same stage with him, would be able to take him down.
Again, from your lips to God's ears, let's hope this is the case. He's certainly got a good candidate for vice president. I'm really impressed. And we'll see. And the opponent is so incredibly weak, the opponent's team, and yet they've been very effective marketed. I mean, I wish our book had come out a little earlier, but even coming out now when it has, it's like the election is just totally validating everything that we've been talking about in terms of the role of corporate media, censorship, propaganda. It's all there. It's all on display. It's right in your face. It seems like for those of us that are awake, that it's almost painful to watch it play out. It's so overt. But for the other side, they're all in on the narrative and think that we're the ones that are the nutcases.
It's amazing. Yeah, half the country, thinks the other side is the one being brainwashed. But you have this War book now, enforcing the New World Order, exposing the psychological warfare on the American people. We have seen that all. I mean, you exposed it more than anybody during the pandemic. I think we all got a chance to see this psychological warfare take place, where they used fear and they used shame to make people make choices about their own body that they didn't want to do. They made people act so irrationally. We never saw anything like it, like we did over the pandemic years. So, how does this book kind of add to exposing that psychological warfare?
So you could almost think of this as a bit of a postmortem, looking back at what took place. It's now almost 5 years. Remember, this kicked off in the fall of 2019. It's kind of amazing to think about that. But there we are. And the hope is that those that bother to take the even portions of the book have immunized themselves against this kind of propaganda, which is really, in a sense, a derivative of marketing. Just like when people learn that sex is used to sell hamburgers and cars and everything else, and they become a little more resistant to that, the hope is that by learning what the technology is, who's deploying it, how they're deploying it, why they're deploying it, and in the back part of the book, we talk about what you can do about it, which is essentially strengthen family, build community, recommit to ethics, etc. All the fundamentals that are obvious, and yet everybody overlooks them. The hope is that it'll make less susceptible, let's put it that way, less susceptible to corporate media and to these various manipulation techniques that are going on social media. But I got to tell you that once you get into it, once you really break down what the tech is, how sophisticated it is, how cross-linked, interactive it is, the things like these repeated messaging, safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective is just one classic example. That stuff goes straight into your lizard brain. It goes into your subconscious, and people think that they can avoid it, that they can be resistant to it, that they can overcome it, they can resist it. It's only a tiny fraction of people that really can. Most people are really susceptible, and the ones that are most susceptible, unfortunately, are the highly educated. That's one of the paradoxes, is the folks that live in the physical world, where they're actually doing stuff and making things and fixing stuff, they're the ones that are most resistant to this. The ones that are most susceptible are the ones that live in the virtual world, particularly the younger folks. I'm now 65, so almost everybody's younger, it seems like. But the ones that have been raised on Dungeons and Dragons and Grand Theft Auto and these various gaming programs where you create your own reality, for them, they've been raised in a world in which reality is subjective. It's whatever you want to believe it is at the time. And so they become really susceptible to this kind of tech, and it's really designed to get into their brains and rewire them. Remember, the audience should keep in mind that the key modern battleground, as recognized by NATO and armies, militaries all over the world, the key battleground today is the mind. The mind, and winning the battle for the mind is how you control governments. It's how you overturn regimes. That's old school, to go in and assassinate somebody. New school is you deploy X or Facebook or Google Analytics, or name your particular poison, TikTok, and use that to manipulate how people are thinking and feeling and believing, and to use corporate media to control all information that they get access to promote these these false approved narratives from governments. And remember, that's what governments are saying when they, like the European Union, for example, when they say that they're not going to allow Elon Musk and they're going to fine him and try to jail him because he's allowing misinformation. And what we got to remember is that what misinformation is any information which differs from approved narratives from governments or from these what aspire to be the new globalist single world government organizations like the United Nations, its branch, the World Health Organization, et cetera, et cetera. So what they're really saying is we want to prevent anybody from saying anything other than what we approve that they should say. And it's the likes of you and me that are out there on the front line, taking the shots, taking the arrows to try to provide people with unvarnished opinion and information that isn't processed and spun. Like, the bloody governments think that they're now Madison Avenue. It's like they're selling us cigarettes, and they'll do anything.
And I think, Dr. Malone, just what you pointed to as a solution set of this, I think is part of the reason why this has gotten so big, is that when you're going to do this, you have to take out those barriers that are in the way. And the number one barrier is the family. So if you could break that family apart, you take away one of those barriers that are in the way. If faith is in the way, people's belief in religion or in God, you take that away, you break that down. Now you have free access. So the kids that are growing up today, many of them are coming from homes that are in disarray, where there's no father living in the home. The nuclear family broke down. The other part is they do have two parents that are in the home. Both of them are working. Neither one of them are home. So the state has more access to the kids. And so you do this one generation at a time. You see what's happening to these kids that are growing up. They're primed for the pickings. You can install any type of system in their minds that you want, and you got free reign.
Well put. System download. Click. Here it comes. Suck it up. CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Rolling Stone, Atlantic Monthly, Business Insider, and all of the promoted gang stalking and cyber processing of information. And of course, don't forget Google with its ephemeral content that is constantly pushing narratives that are and selected information that are aligned with what the state wants. And it's all coming around basically socialist theses, a socialist frame of reference, together with utilitarianism. The ends justify the means, so this is okay. The other day, Dennis Prager, in one of his broadcasts, made the point, I'm going to paraphrase, that truth is not a liberal value. And therefore, if you're a liberal, it's okay to lie because it's not one of your core values to value truth and integrity. And so under a utilitarian frame of reference where the ends justify the means, you can say anything. You can promote anything. You can say Trump is this, that, or the other thing. You can selectively misquote and amplify and twist, and it's all good. Right? Because it's all for a good cause. And the good cause is basically socialism now.
Yeah. And I just had Dennis Prager on the podcast last week, and I was talking about this stuff. It's what they've done is they've justified. So it's like what you're talking about here is they're allowed to say what they want because no matter if they fix the election, if they rig it, if they do something that's a lie about Trump, it's all justified because no matter what it is, you're okay because we're taking down that bigger threat. He's the threat to democracy. So whether we have to cheat, lie, and steal, all of that is justified. It doesn't matter that they're doing it the wrong way. The only thing that matters is they get him out of the way. And the censorship part of this has been, like you say, Elon Musk has broken through with Twitter. We have or X. We have places like Rumble. And this is something that this state-run media wants to crush like a bug. And that is one of their biggest enemies because it's exposing people to this propaganda and to the light.
I'm completely with you. I appreciate the clarity of what you're saying and the thought. We're completely aligned with one small nuance. State-run media, I would call it state-influenced media because increasingly the state is subsidiary to these very, very large transnational economic interests. So what I like to position this as is corporate media. And the reason why is because what we're now moving towards is the fusion of corporatism, corporate interests, and socialism embodied in the United Nations and its Director General, who is the former head of the Socialist International, before that, the head of the Socialist Party in Portugal, the former Socialist Prime Minister of Portugal, etc. His whole career, he's been a socialist, and he's turned he's turned the United Nations into a great big, massive, multinational socialist advocacy organization. And he's now teamed with the World Economic Forum, which is intrinsically corporatist. So we have clearly, explicitly, we have the fusion of corporatist interests and socialist interests. And Benito Mussolini came up with a name to describe that, a type of political system. And the name is fascism. This projection that Trump is a fascist, that is completely contrived. That's weaponization of language. It's twisting the meaning of words in terms of the fundamentals of political science. Let's get back to what words actually mean. Trump is not the fascist. It's these folks coming from the left that are acting in the frame of reference for this new globalist, totalitarian, central planning-based structure that is being advocated for and advanced under Agenda 2030 and the Pact for the Future and all of these other incremental things that Obama and his various successors have been advocating. And that is fascism. That is the new, techno-totalitarian version of fascism. And they want to implement it globally. They want to have the power to be able to only promote their particular versions of reality, their particular narratives, their particular solutions. The Director General of the United Nations is on record as having written in support of this new Pact for the Future that they have the best plans. Now, those plans haven't been agreed to. Nobody voted on them. They haven't been subjected to any testing. They haven't been tested out in small countries. We don't actually have any data saying those are the best plans. And you want examples of their brilliant best plans. You can see what they did during the COVID crisis. You can see the fiasco of their energy policy. You can see the fiasco of their anthropomorphic climate change false narrative and their immigration policies, that everybody has the right to live wherever they want, that we should have universal basic income, we should have universal education. Those are their best plans. And, none of us have voted on it, but that's the way it is in their world. They know best. It is just intrinsically arrogant. They know best, and they're going to do it to us good and hard.
Let's be honest, Dr. Malone. I mean, they've succeeded in so many different ways. I think during the pandemic, they were probably just blown away by how great this haul has gone, how easy it was to move people in different directions that they wanted to. I mean, I would imagine they probably thought it would be a little bit more resistance than they encountered. I mean, this thing was so simple for them to do. And you talk about this, Cy-War enforcing the New World Order. The forward of your book, General Michael Flynn, I just had him on last week as well. And he was talking about the New World Order. This isn't something that just started here in the last couple of decades. The New World Order, right after World War I, he's saying we could trace this back to. This has been a long time coming, and we're just seeing the tail end. So we can kind of like, wow, where the hell? We're looking around like as parents, as family people, as working class guys, like, man, where the hell did this come from all of a sudden? Now kids want different pronouns, they change their genders. Like, we look as if this just happened in the last 48 hours here, but this has been coming for decades against us.
Yeah. This is a long-term planning effort. And that's why you'll remember the book leads with this Aldous Huxley quote from 1963, where he lays out what the future is going to be like, in which we're going to have all the old institutions, and they're going to talk incessantly about the importance of democracy and all these things. But in fact, it's just going to be quietly run by the oligarchs and the elite. And it was totally prescient. Reason was because his brother was intimately involved in developing all those bloody plans. And so he had a front row seat to seeing what the plans were, where this is all going to go. Hence, we have the book that he produced. Suddenly, I'm blanking. I can think of 1984 from Orwell and Huxley's I'm so embarrassed. Uh, um, in any case, these guys foresaw this because they were involved in the planning. And that's now come to maturity. And the question is, what can we do about it? And I think that the truth is that Mr. Trump this train has left the station. President Trump, let's be positive, he will get in. And he will be resisted. And the blob or the deep state or whatever is going to do everything they can to try to keep him from succeeding, to keep him from implementing Schedule F, to keep him from reorganizing the bureaucracy, to keep him from refocusing the United States and pivoting away from war. There's going to be so many things that are going to be deployed against him, all kinds of legal lawfare and every single trick in the book that they can possibly do, just like they've been doing. And what that means for the likes of you and I is that we're going to have to figure out some way to tunnel through, because this is going to be another decade of moving towards a Soviet or CCP-like world. And the question is how we can preserve our integrity, how we can preserve our community, how we can preserve our morality and our way of living in the face of what's coming at us.
Yeah, well said, Dr. Malone. The Doors of Perception, is that the one you were looking for?
Brave New World. Brave New World really foreshadows all of this. And Orwell Huxley was Orwell's mentor. So 1984 really comes out of that. The big difference between the two is that Orwell believed in this kind of dark version of a totalitarian state, and that the state would force this. Remember the whole Big Brother narrative and newspeak, et cetera, which seems so aligned with what we're seeing right now. The final command is you will love Big Brother. It's akin to you will have joy. But Huxley believed that people were going to accept it on their own. They were going to welcome this. They were going to take it in. It's very much, his version is very much aligned with the World Economic Forum's storyline of you will own nothing and be happy, that you will live in this seeming paradise in which you have these, non-religious ways of essentially being hypnotized into a world in which you are able to constantly seek your own pleasure and be self-gratified. I mean, you know what this kind of sounds like. We're in an environment of rampant self-gratification promoted by the internet and by the various we could call them social media or Silicon Valley moguls or whatever, that are then going to transition us towards this dark future that is being envisioned that we call transhumanism, in which we're going to have the fusion of man and machine. And these people full on, no stops, believe that the human race is obsolete, that we've mismanaged the globe. We don't deserve to have dominance and oversight for natural resources and for the earth and for the species as described in the Bible, but instead we need to be supplanted by some new entity, some new intelligence, ergo AI plus robotics. And they're moving forward on that. That underpins all kinds of things. It underpins the logic that they are actively abstracting all of our metadata and creating basically virtual versions of each one of us synthetically in silicon. And the future in that is they want to be able to basically lease or rent, because of course no one wants to own anything anymore, versions of the likes of you and I and anybody else. And you can basically sign up and acquire or lease access to these virtual people who can then interact with you, advise you, and whatever other nefarious things one might imagine might be done. with these BR surrogates that represent all of our aggregated metadata, not the least of which is going to be to use them to figure out how to sell stuff back to our real persons. I argue they're stealing part of our soul. They're literally, this is referred to, I think it's in Ezekiel. They are basically stealing parts of our soul and then reformulating them, selling them as behavioral futures. So essentially, they are stealing our souls and reselling them. That is what the Silicon Valley business model is. That is the essence of the new capitalism model that powers Silicon Valley.
Well, it seems like it's come at such a quick pace too, Dr. Malone, because it feels like everyone just got their first smartphone. It feels like not that long ago, and now look at how fast it's gone to where we are right now. And another decade of this, it's going to be impossible to rein it back in. But this is, and I know I'm running up against the clock here too. But President Donald Trump, I think, wins on November 5th. I think it's that period between November 5th and January 20th that's going to be the most nerve-wracking one in the country, because it's so many things can go wrong, and they know that. Now Trump gets in there and has the power again.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
gonna be a knuckle biter.
This is the thing. Donald Trump can get in there and make changes that can affect us for the next 100 years if he can get back in there, and they know that. And there's nobody behind him that can do what he can do. So I just have that bad feeling that so many things are going to go wrong in that 76-day period between Election Day and Inauguration Day. And that's really where I think our eyes and we have to be vigilant during that time.
I agree. And let's hope that he can, think about what's happened in terms of these two parties. And I don't even think Trump I don't think we can really describe Trump as a Republican. I think the Republican Party is defunct. And everybody that I know on my side of the fence, our side of the fence, seems to self-identify as conservatives or constitutional conservatives. Very, very few people self-identify as Republicans anymore. But think about the turnaround. We've got those of us that are on the center right, this populist wave that's coming, are in position opposing pharma, opposing these forever wars, opposing a whole cluster of things that used to be traditional, quote, Republican positions. And on the left, wow. You have Cheney endorsing Harris. You have Harris being all in on the forever wars. You've got those signing of large artillery shells. Remember all that as atmospherics?
Yep.
These guys are all in with the military-industrial complex. They're bankrolling him and the pharmaceutical industry against the people. And they're all in with corporatism. The current Democrat structure, the DNC, is all in with what used to be considered to be right-wing positions. The flip-flop here is amazing. And I think it speaks to those of us on our side. We're just fed up with this constant focus on imperialism and advancing the interests of the military-industrial complex and our current State Department's really bizarre vision of continued global dominance. What is that buying us? It's buying us a great big frill in debt. And increasingly, our military, all these carriers, et cetera, they're all obsolete. The future of warfare is psychological warfare combined with drones. And the people that are going to be the winners in this, I saw Unheard had an article, Are the BRICS Going to Inherit the World? That's out today, this morning. The people that are going to inherit the world, that are going to dominate, I think the argument that I buy into is we're going to see increasing fragmentation, decentralization of power, and the rise of regional warlords. Anybody that has enough capital to basically stand up a drone army and manufacture autonomous AI-enabled drones is going to dominate the battlefield. And they're going to be able to take out all of these older school, traditional munition, kinetic warfare-based weaponry. And by the way, that's what's being pioneered right now in Ukraine. Nobody talks about that. But in Ukraine, they're now generating AI-enabled drones directly for warfare with kill instructions. You no longer have a human in the loop. This is Skynet. I mean, we're there, guys. Wake up.
Yeah.
In another thing they're doing in Ukraine is they're using artificial intelligence to basically manage the government and manage all this affairs, because they've wiped out the whole cohort of males that are of an age that they can participate in management, because they're all on the front lines getting all shot up. And that's where we're going. And the big power brokers are just sitting there lapping it up with the contract to BlackRock to rebuild this whole thing after they've depopulated it from the Ukrainian population, at least all the males. So you're going to have a bunch of Ukrainian women. God knows what the push ads are going to be now. You can imagine it on YouTube. We're just going to get bombarded by those things. And they're going to repopulate it with people from God only knows where. It's certainly not going to be Ukrainians. The whole thing is just sick.
And, yeah, man. Meanwhile, we just gave another $400 million for military for Ukraine. It seems like every time you turn around and you sneeze, there's another couple of $100 million going to Ukraine to fund this war. And like you referred to, Josh Shapiro there. Like, who would have thought the Democrats, who were always like, stop the war? We know no. You have the Democrats signing a missile that's going to go be used in the war. It's like, what the hell has happened here? But this is what's happening, and it's like we have still people in North Carolina that are damaged from the hurricane trying to get help from the government. Meanwhile,
even worse. The people that are the volunteerism of people like my physician, Brooke Miller, just went down to North Carolina with a huge truckload of supplies and coats and things that people had donated, and a $25,000 check that came from the vaccine, essentially the Medical Freedom Movement, FLCCC. FLCCC cut him a $25,000 check to take down there to North Carolina. And those, I don't even want to say the word on air, FEMA people, they somehow believe that because they've let out contracts to these DC insider companies to rebuild, that they have the right to prevent volunteerism from coming in and trying to help. That's the logic, is no, you can't come in here, just like what happened in Lahaina. No, you can't come here and help people out because we've written contracts to companies that, by the way, are not getting the job done. And it's got to stop. Somehow this crazy train has got to stop. And they're just driving us deeper and deeper into debt. And no wonder we have these, quote, conspiracy theories that this is all about destroying the American Republic, because whether or not it's intentional, that is absolutely what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Dr. Robert Malone, War, Enforcing the New World Order. I got the link to the book down in the description below. You've been a blessing because you've woken so many people up. Your voice is powerful. Your reach goes far. And it's going to take all of us to stop what's coming here. And if we don't get Donald Trump in on November 5th and get him inaugurated on January 20th, we're all in trouble. I'd love to have you on again back down the line. Honored that you took a few minutes with me today on the Alec Late Show.
Thank you.
All right, what an honor to have Dr. Robert Malone back on the podcast. What you guys think about the interview? Don't forget, get his new book. The link is down there in the description below. Scary times are heading for our country. There's no doubt about it here, and it's going to get worse if we don't change this on November 5th and get real change, right? Because they keep saying a new way forward for Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, they can't name a single policy different. We know that. There is no difference. Even Mark Cuban, who is a staunch Trump derangement syndrome individual, can't seem to name any of the differences in the policy. Josh Shapiro, who was going to be the vice president before they tapped Tampon Tim to take the position, he was pressed. Oh, hey, what's the difference in the campaign, right? Let me play this clip in case you guys didn't see this. It's a quick one. I'll hit you guys with it. But here you go. Josh Shapiro was asked, hey, what's going to be different between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden? And here's his response.
Polls do show that more Americans feel as though President Biden's policies have hurt them rather than helped them. So can you name one key policy difference between Vice President Harris and President Biden? How would her administration look different?
You know, I've been really encouraged by the amount of energy that Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, has put into focusing on how she will cut taxes for small businesses. The focus on child care tax credit expansion, that's something I've done here in Pennsylvania. We've seen that work to ease the burden on families. I think a focus on those kinds of things is particularly important, and those are the kinds of things I think Kamala Harris has brought specifically to this race.
Those aren't necessarily differences, though. They're an expansion or a tweak to some extent to what's been done. Can you name one policy difference?
Well, listen, again, the contrast I am focused on, Kristen, is between her and Donald Trump.
And again, it goes back to that playbook. Don't worry about what's just Donald Trump. Donald Trump. That's what you need to worry about. Let's worry about Donald Trump, not what's going to be different. They can't answer the question because there is no difference. There is no separation. There is no new way forward. That's all bullshit. There's no new way forward. It's the same old, same old. And the same old ain't cutting the mustard in this country right now. Not with what's going on at the border. Not with what's going on in the grocery store. Not with what's going on with world peace, okay? So, yes, you have Donald Trump, you'd love to pull up to the drive-thru with Donald Trump being there at the McDonald's and say, hey, yes, I'd like to make an order of world peace, cheaper taxes, and some mean tweets, and let's go. And if we do it with this Kamala Harris, it's doomsday. We are headed for disaster, and we all know it. And the momentum, man, is so high for President Trump right now. I'm telling you, I'm going to this rally tomorrow, and everything that I've been to so far in this election cycle has seemed to be electrified a lot more at a higher level than it was in 2020 and in 2016. It's incredible. So we're going to see what happens. The last thing I kind of wanted to hit on with you guys here was this P. Diddy. He got hit with 5 more new lawsuits. And I'm going to be careful with what I actually say here because, I'm not worried about it on Rumble, but, this podcast will be on Apple and Spotify, and some of this stuff might get me knocked down just because it's this disgusting. So I'll read this piece to you here. Sean Diddy Combs is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl while 2 celebrities watched at a VMA party. The girl was dropped off by a friend at Music Hall in New York City before being noticed by a man who claimed to be Diddy's limo driver. The limo driver allegedly told the girl that Diddy liked younger girls and that she fit in with what Diddy was looking for. The incident happened in 2000, and the girl was forced to sign an NDA. Later on in the evening, the girl was taken to Diddy by the driver. She was given a drink at the after party and began to feel woozy. She went into a room to lie down but did not lock the door. So according to this lawsuit, what happened was Diddy entered the room with 2 celebrities, 1 man, 1 woman. Celebrity A held the girl down and raped her, while Combs and Celebrity B, which was a female, watched this happen. Celebrity A, when Celebrity A was done, Combs took his turn with the 13-year-old girl while the other 2 watched. Combs allegedly tried to force more than that onto the girl, but she struck him in the neck. She wandered around the house with no clothes on and eventually found an exit and got out of there. Now, these are the allegations. Okay, so if this is true, now the girl today is 37 years old, was 13 years old when this happened. If this is true, it should be a death sentence for P. Diddy. If this is true, and for the other 2 celebrities that are involved. Now, the issue with this is this happened in 2000, right? You're talking 24 years ago that this took place. And we're just finding out about it now. How much more did they get away with? How many more people are involved in this entire thing covering up? Because people that have covered this up, that knew about it, should be put to death. It should be execution. And these things need to start happening. Again, you have to have your day in court. You have to be proven guilty of this stuff. This isn't like I'm not saying, hey, just on the allegations, could there be false claims? Yes, we've seen that with President Donald Trump, right? This E. Jean Carroll comes up with a crazy story. The porn star, right? Same thing. So, yes, there can be false allegations. This is why I say, if true, if these allegations are proven to be true, saying P. Diddy admits to doing this, and it goes that far that we get that kind of proof, it's a death sentence. It has to be. And for the people that are involved in it, it's got to be a death sentence. This stuff is so far out of control. Now, this happened again 24 years ago, and we're finding out about it now. How much has this guy gotten away with? This guy's living a life of luxury. This guy's 24 years, this guy's lived it up. And this is what's been going on? And people knew about this? I mean, how much sicker does it get? And I think we all have this kind of feeling that it's worse than we could ever imagine. The problem is we never seem to get any answers from anybody. And this is another reason why we pray that Donald Trump gets in there and picks up the veil on all this stuff, exposes all this stuff, give us the Epstein client list. And that this may be another reason why they keep trying to eliminate President Donald Trump physically, in the court system, and everywhere else. Is they're trying to protect whoever these people are, man. Whoever they are that are doing this, they are so protected by our politicians, by our government agencies, the three-letter agencies, the intelligence. They are protected at a higher level than Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump was shot in the head on live TV. Sean Combs never was. These people are protected at the highest level. So we're hoping one of the things that Donald Trump can do when he gets in there is put the light, expose these people to the light, and let's get them out of our society, man, because this child sex stuff that's been going on in this country and around this world needs to be exposed and extinguished. I mean, it's brutal. There's nothing worse than this. So, again, I pray that Donald Trump will get in there and expose all this stuff. All right, so listen, grateful that I had Congressman Jordan and Dr. Robert Malone on the podcast. I'm flying out in the morning to go down to Georgia. I'm going to be over at Duluth at the rally. There's going to be all these speakers that are going to be there. A lot of the guys that you heard from right here on the podcast, right? The Charlie Kirk, the Tulsi Gabbard, the Riley Gaines. I'm going to do my best to reconnect with them while I'm there. I have press access, so I'm going to do everything I can. You know, I'll be trying to see if I can get in touch with President Donald Trump. I've been trying to do that. It's been my number one goal since I started podcasting 5.5 years ago. And I'm going to do my best to see what I can do. So lock it in to my X account at Alec Lace, because I'm going to try to post on there first. Again, at the rallies, it's very difficult. Everyone's taxing the same Wi-Fi systems and the same servers or the satellites. So bear with me. But for sure, Thursday's episode, I'm going to give you guys all the content that I have from the rally in Duluth tomorrow. So make sure you bring it back here. Again, follow the channel on Rumble. Follow wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, any of the platforms that you're listening to. Please follow and subscribe. Do what you can. And if you want to support what I'm doing, there's two ways for you to do that. One, you can go to mypillow.com. You can use the promo code FATHERHOOD. You can save a ton of money on your pillows, your towels, your bathrobes, your slippers. MyPillow products, there are so many of them. You can get the best night's sleep in the whole wide world and help support me and the Alec Lace Show. Okay, use the promo code FATHERHOOD at mypillow.com. The other way you can do it is get involved in my locals. Join my locals. You can help support me, and I'm going to put the videos and stuff up there as I can, all right? And like I said, that one that you saw, the piece that I did with Trump at McDonald's, that goes on the locals. You get it there first before it gets released onto the show. So I'm going to try to do daily commentary on the political events there. And we're only 2 weeks away here, guys, so there's a lot that's going to happen in these 2 weeks. 14 days away from the election. Let's get it. Make sure you're registered to vote. If not, get registered to vote. Tell your friends to do it. All hands on deck. Let's get Donald Trump back into the White House. I'm honored that you spent a few minutes of your day here with me. That's all I got for you guys today. I'm catching a plane in the morning. I'll be reporting to you guys from Duluth. Make sure you keep it locked into the Alec Lace Show. Follow me on X at Alec Lace. Follow me here on Rumble. Follow me on YouTube. And that's all I can ask for. I'll be back with you guys Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. God bless all you parents out there. God bless our police, our first responders. God bless our military, our veterans. God bless America. And I will catch you guys here on Thursday. God bless.
You're listening to the Alec Lace Show. The future is family.
Promo code FATHERHOOD. Go to mypillow.com and everything we have on sale there. Actually, we brought in the percale sheets. The queen size, $34.98 a set. King size, $39.98 a set. That's unheard of. It's the lowest price in history. And everything else on there that we have, you can save up to 80%. We don't have any middlemen. We don't have box stores and stuff. They canceled on MyPillow. They even canceled my book to get my book out, you know. So use that promo code FATHERHOOD, everybody, and please help us out, and thanks for ones that you have already helped. And by the way, you'll be helping yourself to the best sleep in history, period.
I got to tell you, that mattress topper is the best product I have in the house, Mike, no doubt.
And that turns any bed into the best bed in history. If you got an old bed, new bed, doesn't matter. You put the mattress topper on there, and it changes everything. You need a different input to get a different output. People waking up every day going, maybe my bed will be better tonight. No, you need a MyPillow mattress.